Former President Obama, known for taking his time when choosing his words, reportedly not holding back on Nancy Pelosi last year after she was quick to endorse Kamala Harris following Biden's decision to drop out of the race.
Now, according to ABC Jonathan Karl in his new book, Retribution, the former president fumed at Pelosi in a phone call indicating he was blindsided when Pelosi offered her endorsement less than 24 hours after Biden dropped out, despite allegedly agreeing with Obama to avoid early endorsements. Now, according to the New York Post, Karl writes that Obama had urged senior Democrats to let a, quote, process unfold before rallying behind any successor, and that he was, quote, not happy with one Pelosi confidant summing up Obama's message to Pelosi as, "What the F did you just do?" The Post goes on, "That train has left the station," Pelosi reportedly told to Obama during their call, according to Karl, apparently referring to Biden's quick endorsement of Harris after announcing his decision to end his campaign.
Jonathan Karl was asked about that phone call in an appearance on Morning Joe and elaborated on his reporting. Take a look.
Shapiro, Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, that they're all endorsing her within hours. Pelosi actually waits till the next day, but she sees that there's nothing to hold the tide. So she puts out the endorsement. I've spoken to people close to President Obama who say he was just kind of joshing with her and giving her a hard time. I've spoken to another, person who, very close to Pelosi says, no, she was pissed off. She was angry. He was angry. The clear message was, why did you do that?
I mean, in fairness to Nancy Pelosi, which is not something I typically say, the other potential candidates had all endorsed Harris already.
Yeah,
first,
she was like last.
Biden had endorsed Harris. So while maybe Barack Obama imagines that it would have been better to have some kind of quick American Idol style primary where he gets to host some talent contest, maybe that'd be fun for him. That was never going to happen at that point. So
I would think that people would be celebrating what
fault.
President Obama was saying, because a lot of Republicans, frankly, called for there to be a primary. And I think in 107 days, I was consistent in the fact that that wasn't realistic. There wasn't enough time to do that whole process. But there were tons of people on TV around that time no, we can't just anoint Kamala.
Republicans thought we're just enjoying the spectacle. That
was just for show.
Because the reality, I've said this before, at that point, at the point that Joe Biden got out of the race, there was not enough time to do anything correct.
Right.
At that point, there was no correct course of action. Just giving it to Kamala Harris without any kind of process was kind of a betrayal of Democratic values, but also not having her, the sitting and able vice president, assume the role would have not made any sense either. There was no right choice to make. It was a terrible situation.
The right choice was Biden not running.
The right choice was Biden not running. It was too late to do the right thing.
But Obama's strategy was just let the process unfold a bit. And I think
the process unfolded. They all said, you know what, it's Kamala. That was the process.
And I think when you saw that, remember President Obama, if I'm correct, took 4 days before he put his endorsement of Kamala out, which people thought, 4 days sounds short right now, but that seemed like months and months in 107 days. And it was like, does he not think that she can do it? That was the first time that we heard people say, oh my gosh, maybe Obama does not support this move. But I can't imagine I want to hear Jonathan Karl elaborate more about if there's Obama's team on record saying what they thought the good plan was, because if he wasn't confident in Kamala, please tell me that he didn't think that Biden should continue forward, because I don't know many people who think that is a good idea.
No, he did not think Biden should continue forward at all. I think
he actually thought we could do a primary really quickly. And
my guess is that he's met Kamala and he's talked to her, and his impression is that she was not the absolute strongest candidate. I think if he could pick a candidate, he would have picked somebody else. And maybe he was trying to devise a system where that's exactly what was going to happen. He was going to pick the candidate, but it was just going to be Kamala at that point.
And then there were so I also was reading some of the reporting, and there were conversations about whether, say me and you have a conversation, right? We know each other enough that I can get a little loud. It doesn't mean that I'm screaming at you or we're never going to speak again or I'm angry. So people could easily mischaracterize his conversation with Pelosi as oh, he blew up, and or it's dude, cool, we agreed on
already-
something. Yeah, it could be like more like that, and then like, okay, fine. Like,
Whitmer and Shapiro and the other had already said, yeah, it's Kamala. So it was just done. It's just done at that point. It's done. It's
so how much
over.
screaming is he
I don't know
doing?
what-
Did he call Shapiro? Did he call everyone
You
else?
can be mad at her
Kamala?
for, I mean, she played a significant role in getting Biden to exit in the first place.
But unless he wanted Biden to keep
did
going,
not.
then that's
It
exactly.
doesn't
So
sound
then,
like
what's
it
the
did.
point of
It
what's
really
the
doesn't
point of
sound
being
like
mad
it
at
did.
Pelosi? That just seems like it's
Yeah.
not as explicit.
I understand why
as the headline
Biden people are mad at Pelosi, but
right, because she was the first
she
person
kept
that
saying on TV, you know, it's his decision to make, and we're
Yes.
just waiting for him to make a decision. And they'd be like, well, he already made this decision. He's staying in. And she'd
Yeah.
say, yes, and we can't wait to get that decision. Just as soon as that decision is made, we will stand by it, whatever it is.
And I remember in that moment, you were doing Rising. I was on News Nation a ton, and I remember every day we were reporting on what would happen. And the moment,
I thought he was going to hold out. I really did.
well, the moment that the actual debate happened, that was way past the point when I was looking at this and saying he should have dropped out. But once he actually did after that debate, and we watched the moments play out after that from the conversations, or even right before that when he had the many interviews where he doubled down about unless Jesus come from the sky and take me out of this race. Like
I
there
thought
was
he
so
was
much
staying.
around it that happened. And then with Pelosi's response, I think just we watched everybody's facial expressions and everything they said and tweeted so carefully because there was a very obvious to everyone who reported on this every day that something was going on behind the scenes, very deeply.
Yeah, I just didn't think anything behind the scenes mattered because at the end of the day, it's his. No one can make it. There's no independent head of the Democratic Party. The candidate is the head of the Democratic Party. Joe Biden at the time was the leader of the Democratic Party. No one can fire him. He has no boss. It's him. And the delegates were pledged to vote for him, and there was no indication the delegates were not. The delegates were going to vote for him en masse unless he instructed them not to vote for him.
Right.
So as long as he wanted to stay in, I'm like, they can huff and puff and blow his house down, but he will be the candidate.
And I think it would have been even worse for him.
But they made it so embarrassing and humiliating for him that he finally tired of it and left.
But I honestly think that now had he have won, I think we would have had many of other issues that we can put to the side, specifically because he wasn't doing well right after election day.
If he'd won, he would have had to resign.
There would be way too much going on. But I do think that if he lost,
that was their plan.
Then that was a big dramatic thing that we would not want to see happen. Is that he wore this crown and took it so serious. He allowed his ego to lead him in this entire process, and then you lose. I think the Democratic Party would be even worse shape than it is right now.
If somehow he had won that election, which he was very, very unlikely to win, far less likely. Kamala Harris got beaten, and his numbers were way worse than hers. If he somehow won and was reelected to a second term, he would have resigned for health reasons within the first year.
And if he lost, the Democrats would be even more angry than they are now because the book would have still came out, Jake Tapper's book. This would have been, think about how this whole year would have went. This would have been a complete disaster of a year.
Yeah, I don't know if he had remained the candidate, Kamala's fortunes might be better because now it's like, well, she had the shot. But she'll argue she didn't get a full chance because didn't have the time to campaign, didn't get to put her own campaign staff in position. It was kind of foisted on her at the the last moment.
Which I think is fair. She's by name recognition, she looks like she's going to jump in the race again. Yeah.
I see why she thinks that, but with more time, I'm not sure she would have done better. I think she would have done worse. But who knows? Maybe we'll find out what more time will yield for Kamala. We've got a lot more to talk about on Rising today. Please stay with us.